Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at 3 more Pokemon cards that are so gosh darn good, they will never be printed again. Now, we did a video about this a couple of months ago, and it has become the 3rd most popular video on this channel. And the most popular comment on that video was 110% make this a series, love it. So I thought, you know what? Let's do another video showcasing 3 more cards that are so gosh darned good, they will never be printed again. And we're going to start off by looking at Cleffa. Ladies and gentlemen, Cleffa is one of those cards that at first glance looks incredibly innocuous. But it's actually pretty much the best setup Pokemon we've ever had. What it did, for 1 colourless energy, you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 7 cards. This was the original print back in Neo Genesis. Now that's a good card, that's a good effect, and I mean, to be honest with you, that's better than something like a Cynthia nowadays. But what made this especially good was the Poke Power. You see, well, it wasn't even really a Poke Power, it was just a baby Pokemon rule. If this baby Pokemon is your active Pokemon, and your opponent tries to attack, they flip a coin. If tails, your opponent's turn ends without an attack. That means that 50% of the time, their attack fails, and they don't get to do anything. And if we look at all of the recent bans around at the moment, from Wally that lets you set up a turn 1 Trevenant, for instance, to Forest of Giant Plants that lets you set up a turn 1 Vileplume, or Archeops that stops you being able to play Evolve Pokemon, all of these bans revolve around Pokemon that stop you playing the game. Cleffa's a great setup Pokemon, but the problem is you can just leave Cleffa in the active for as long as you want, and your opponent's only got a 50% chance of being able to hit them. Fine, you've only got 30 HP, but your opponent can't attack unless they flip a heads, which means that half the time you're stopping your opponent attacking. And it's not because you've used paralysis and paralyze them or any of that. It's just because you've got a baby Pokemon in the active. And it had free retreat as well, which just seems a little bit over the top. Now, this did get a near enough reprint back in Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and then an exact reprint of that card in Call of Legends. And this again had the same Eek, although it only drew you 6 cards rather than 7, but it still had free retreat, it still had 30 HP. And it had a Pokebody that was very similar, except it was prevent all damage done to Cleffa by attacks while it's asleep. And when you used Eek, you went to sleep. And this led to one of the worst formats we've ever had, because there were a whole bunch of other baby Pokemon, Tyrogue was like direct counter to Cleffa, but Tyrogue and Pichu being the other worst offenders at the time, whereby it was just baby flips. And if you flipped the heads and woke up, your opponent could end up winning the game. Plus, this was back when we didn't have anything like Guzma. We had Pokemon Reversal, which was on a coin flip. So pretty much the entire format came down to baby flips and Pokemon Reversal flips, and it wasn't any fun. Cleffa's a good setup Pokemon, and setup Pokemon are good, but the fact that your opponent could only attack you every other turn on average, and it stopped them attacking, makes it the kind of card that we're just never going to see again. The next card is Hypnotoxic Laser, although to be fair, this is really combined with Virbank City Gym, and I feel 100% confident that we will never get another combination like this, or at least that it will be a very long time before we do. You see, the thing is, there are plenty of 30 HP Pokemon around in the format at the moment. Magikarp pretty much always has 30 HP. And Feebas generally pretty much always has 30 HP, and they've actually both got the same ability, which protects them when they're on the bench because they're so fragile. Wishy-Washy has 30 HP. And the thing is, a Hypnotoxic Laser, it puts your opponent to sleep on a coin flip. That alone makes it a crazy good card that can artificially win games. And we've all lost games because we played a Hypnotoxic Laser and our opponent stayed asleep for 3 turns and we won. We've all won those games, we've all lost those games. But it was the poison that really made Hypnotoxic Laser broken. You see, you play Hypnotoxic Laser and your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned. You put a Virbank City Gym into play and your opponent takes 3 damage counters. Well, that's enough to KO a whole bunch of Pokemon. That seems kind of annoying. We changed the rules a little while ago so you could not attack going first. And this was very important because if you could attack going first, I mean, look at my deck that broke the Pokemon trading card game video, my Sableye one, I'll pop a link to that one in the description. It's silly because you can design decks that basically win on the first turn. So we get rid of that. Oh no, wait, but now Hypnotoxic Laser, even if you can't attack, you can still win turn 1. Now, the counter-argument to this is going, well, hang on a second, because there are cards like Pheromosa GX that can do 30 damage for 1 energy, and that specifically says you can go first and use this attack. How is that any different? Because you've got to use a GX. You've got to use a 2-price Pokemon, you've got to get it in the active, you've got to have the correct energy. It's not playing an item card to win. And even if we buy Pheromosa, if Hypnotoxic Laser and Virbank City Gym was in play with Pheromosa, and all of a sudden you could do 60 damage on turn 1 before your opponent's had a go, and something like a Zorua goes down, or an Inkay goes down. I could keep going, but you get the point. There's lots of 60 HP basics around at the moment. So, on the one hand, being able to get a win using item cards alone before your opponent's even drawn a card kind of sucks. On the other hand, even if we can stomach cards like Pheromosa, which do allow the actual donk, and actual donk is where you win before your opponent's drawn a card, you knock out their only Pokemon before they've had a turn, even if we're okay with Pheromosa, the problem would be so much worse if we added in Hypnotoxic Laser and Virbank City Gym. This makes the game unfair, and that's before we even get into the sleep flip, which just decided so many games based on who could flip heads on sleep. And of course, who could hit a heads on Hypnotoxic Laser to get the sleep in the first place. No, ladies and gentlemen, I am not a fan of this card, and it seems to go against what Pokemon want. I talked about the recent bans. The recent bans are all about allowing you to play the game. This doesn't let you do that. But I have saved the best, or depending on how you look at it, the worst till last. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there were 2 cards released very, very early on in the Pokemon trading card game, by which I mean literally in the base set, which were so game-breakingly, game-ruiningly annoying, we ain't gonna see him again. They were Energy Removal and Super Energy Removal. They were trainer cards. Back then, trainers and items were interchangeable. Everything was essentially an item card. Even supporter cards like Bill were basically item cards. Energy Removal let you choose 1 energy card attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon and discard it. It was basically Crushing Hammer, except you didn't have to flip a heads. It was like Team Flare Grunt, except it wasn't a supporter card, and you could remove it from any of your opponent's Pokemon. And then you added that to Super Energy Removal. Super Energy Removal was, well, taken a bit further. Discard 1 energy card attached to one of your own Pokemon, and then choose one of your opponent's Pokemon and discard up to 2 energy cards attached to it. This literally punishes you for playing Pokemon decks where you use more than 1 energy. It's the reason why back in the early days of the Pokemon trading card game, the only really good deck, the only broken deck, by far at least the very best deck, revolved around single energy attackers like Hitmonchan and Electabuzz, because they could use energy removal and super energy removal so much better than other decks. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a little bit over the top, and those 2 cards together basically meant play a single energy deck, Pokemon that revolve around single energy attacks, and then just spam these over and over again. I mean, it was a little bit worse because we had Item Finder back then that let you reuse them. But think of how annoying Sylveon can be today with Crushing Hammer and Enhanced Hammer. It was so much worse. And ladies and gentlemen, they are free Pokemon cards that I do not think will ever be released again. I don't think we will ever get those Pokemon cards again because they're too good, but they're too good in the way they stop you playing the game. There's plenty of really good cards out there, but if we look at the bans Pokemon have been implementing in the last couple years, they are all cards which stop your opponent playing the game. These cards, I feel comfortable, are never coming back. But I want to know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me what you think about these cards. Tell me if you think they are too good. Tell me if you could see them ever coming back. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. But please do remember the rule. Be nice. And of course, if you do want this to be a series, let me know. And give me some other suggestions for Pokemon cards that you think are so good they will never be reprinted. Go nuts, ladies and gentlemen, but do please remember to be nice. And then, of course, the usual deal. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, other than checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays for some more lovely Wassy action, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.